Martha.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you guys, thank you so much. You doctors are particularly skilled. Most doctors are not required to know anything about cannabis or the endocannabinoid system. How do we change that? How do we make it required, continuing, or medical school education?
It's a great question. I've been working on it for years.
How can we help
The
you?
problem is, I was at a big meeting at a university that now has a cannabis research institute in Southern California. And actually someone that was here yesterday who was moderating a panel raised her hand. She was at the same meeting and she said, when are we going to incorporate endocannabinoid system education into, and the answer from the guy leading the way said, the curriculum's full, we don't have time for it. So until we, and so one of the things that I started doing is I started offering just a free lecture to residents and interns at local hospitals to try to at least get those guys on board, let them hear about it, let them learn about it. It's a big problem.
17 years.
I think we have to make it a law.
Well, but I think it's exactly that. I mean, we do the best we can with what we have in the moment. Like I gave a talk on like Cannabis 101, a primary, to 60 family doctors and nurse practitioners in my department. Earlier this year, I spoke at the University of New Mexico, which was actually one of the first, I think, cannabis symposiums put on by a college of medicine, and it was New Mexico. I don't know how many people were there. Not one of our most populous states. There were like 300 clinicians, nurses. So it's happening. And could it be better? Absolutely.
It's
But
not for the lack that the doctor on the ground doesn't want to know. It's that it seems to be that the people creating the curriculum, it's almost like our politicians creating the laws are not in touch with the people.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I'm on the Oregon Cannabis Commission. It was high time, pun very much intended, that somebody who specialized in this science was at the table when folks were making decisions about the industry, about medicine. I don't know if you all are aware, but our governments are not supposed to influence the practice of medicine. So by virtue of that, it's statutorily, like in Oregon, we're told what conditions we can see patients for. It should be unlawful. And I'm waiting for class action lawsuits from our peers to go forth, but we operate in a very fear-based system. So it's going to begin with peer-to-peer education. Doctors like learning from other doctors. We have to somehow find, and we've never done this before very well, to collectively act in our own favor, right? We talk about putting patients first, but how can we put patients first if we're not equipped to do so? Exactly. In Oregon, I still have OHSU reporting patients' cannabis use to law enforcement. Talking to our legislators, also talking to our medical boards and nursing boards and other specialty boards, and creating a group. We have now the Oregon Cannabis Clinicians Group, which is an interdisciplinary clinicians group. Chiropractors, naturopaths, etc., who care about cannabis as medicine and their right to discuss that information with their patients. And we're going to collectively act and put pressure on our governing agencies to change some of the ways they penalize us or scare us into practicing outside of our best interests. It is my belief that we doctors have a due diligence to, without bias or religiosity about this plant, objectively understand the endocannabinoid system and the pharmacology of cannabis, so that when you come to see us, whether it's like in the emergency room or in surgery, where the anesthesiologist very much needs to know if you took it, can make responsible decisions about what to do next and everything else we're trying to recommend for you. So we have no excuses. We're beyond that. We can no longer hide behind the veil of prohibition. People are using it now. It is our job as doctors, again, without bias, to take care of the person in front of us. So we're just going to have to be, inevitably, we're advocates. We have to be, by the nature of what we do. So I just hope that, I know you guys can hear my passion. I really hope learning the information that we've learned about cannabis, its history as medicine, its history of prohibition, right? The American Medical Association actually went and testified that cannabis be researched in 1937. It was ignored. We've got to be just emblazoned about this, and again, collectively act to push this, move the needle forward. We have to.
And just one quick follow-up with that, there is actually a precedent case, it's called Conant versus Walters, you can look it up, where physicians have protected speech. We are allowed to talk to, this is federally, we are allowed to talk to patients about cannabis. So if a physician ever says, I'm not allowed to talk to you about that, inform them about Conant versus Walters. It protects us. We're not allowed to make claims that are, like I'm going to reverse aging, but I'm allowed to talk to you whether I feel cannabis may be appropriate for you.
Thank you.
Next question. Does someone have a question?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, he's got it.
Well, schizophrenia, since you're working with children, teenagers, etc., is there a link? Because they put that out just yesterday. They're going back to that old canard, that there's a link between THC and schizophrenia, or is it just, it just wasn't, it's already pre-morbid, early onset, and wasn't caught? Like, do you do an evaluation for mental health, whatever?
I think it's a good question to end on.
I can comment on that. So it appears that the studies show that there is and remember, studies are not the end-all be-all. You have to remember that. There is bias within studies. So, I always tell people, it's not just one study that equals the answer, right? So we have to look. And in fact, something just came out I saw recently that showed, remember when I was growing up, they used to scare kids from smoking pot by saying, oh, you won't be able to have kids, it lowers your sperm. Right now, there's a study came out this year that says it actually increases your sperm. So now we have two studies, and they don't, right? But with schizophrenia, it appears that there may be something to early use, we're talking early, 12, 13, 14, heavy use, with a predisposition in a first family member, so your mother specifically, or somebody in that immediate family that already has schizophrenia or some other form of severe mental illness. And what we're talking about too, though, is you're talking about unopposed THC use, right? When you're 12, 13, 14, you're not abusing CBD, you're not abusing CBG or the raw cannabinoids, you're smoking THC-rich cannabis. Something I've always said is, is the 12, 13, 14-year-old medicating something that exists, right? Maybe they're already feeling anxious. Maybe they're already feeling some type of mental angst, and they're seeking it out because they are not expressing it, or nobody's identified yet that what's going wrong. And certainly in that, I do get 12-year-olds that have severe anger issues, have been diagnosed with bipolar and all kinds of things. I'm not going to not treat them with cannabis. I'm just going to treat them with a balanced cannabinoid regimen that's going to include, of course, good nutrition and all of that. But additionally, THC is going to be part of it. It's just not going to be the chronic heavy THC only. So I think that this idea that you can't treat patients with schizophrenia with cannabis is untrue, and I don't think that we should use scare tactics. We should ask kids who are using cannabis, why are you using it, and how can we help you use it as medicine instead of using it? What does a 12-year-old know about medicating?
I have a similar approach, and I think one of the things too, it's like those of us who've been doing this for a while, you'll have patients come in with the diagnosis of schizophrenia on medications, but they're using cannabis and saying that this is actually what keeps me on the level, right? So it's a lot more complicated. I think none of us are also telling our 15-year-olds that are coming in for a well child check to go out and start using cannabis, right? So I mean, it's obviously more complicated, and you've got to weigh
It's the underlying endocannabinoid system. So in that child who's showing symptoms, so if you have a child that is showing evidence of some endocannabinoid dysfunction, certainly that would be a person that you might treat with phytocannabinoids, whereas I just tell, if you're healthy as a teenager, just like leave your brain alone. I mean, I'm the mom of a 19-year-old. I told them, leave your brain alone, you're healthy, you got a good brain, just leave it be until it's a little bit older, that's all. Because we don't want to mess it up. Yeah.
Maybe a final word from Dr. Knox, if you'd like to.
I ended with my final word. That doesn't apply. No, I talk about endocannabinology a lot because I really developed around the endocannabinoid system. And again, we might find something more preeminent in the endocannabinoid system. But in medical school, we learn systems. And we learn those systems in silos. And what the endocannabinoid system is demonstrating is that it's all connected. So I really love to see an endocannabinoid system top-down approach to all our commonly known subspecialties. I mean, listen, you can be an OBGYN specializing in the endocannabinoid system, right? We know, and I mentioned this yesterday, that to get pregnant and that might be a case for, tweaking how much THC, which is an anandamide mimicry you're using, or even how much CBD, which breaks down or prevents the breakdown of anandamide while you're trying to get pregnant if you are struggling with infertility. It's going to be the endocannabinologist who understands the natural function of the endocannabinoid system and also the discipline to help. So I do think that we are at the beginning. We are really pioneering this nascent field of endocannabinology. I do think with the right pressures and the advanced